Welcome to the Local 586 Retirees Minute, where we sit down with the brothers and sisters who made our local what it is today. Today I'm speaking with brother Kevin Birmingham. How are you today, Kevin?
Pretty good, thanks.
How and when did you start in the electrical trade?
Well, I went to Ottawa Tech High School, and I specialized in the electrical. And I graduated from Tech in 1958, and that's when I started the trade.
When did you join the IBEW?
I joined the union in 1960, because back then they didn't indenture apprentices into the union until the third year. My first local 586 job was a post office job on Heron Road in 1960. I wasn't in the union yet, but I worked for GM Guest from Montreal. My first job in the union was the Pepsi Cola plant. I was a first-year mechanic in 1962, and that's when I started working for Comstock Canada.
And would that be like, were you doing like motor controls and kind of like stuff like that?
At Pepsi Cola plant? Yeah, well, they're all conveyor systems and everything else was under there, So that's what I worked on at the time.
And do you remember who your first journey person you worked for was?
My first IBW journeyman I worked for was Bob Flood at the Heron Road post office. But that was, I wasn't in the union, but that's when I worked there in 1960. But I was the first journeyman.
What part of the electrical trade do you like most? Are you like a pipe guy, distribution, fire alarm?
Well, I like all the phases of the trade, especially distribution and fire alarm. And I had a lot of favorable jobs, as I was a foreman for 25 years until 1988. And that time I moved into the office to become Comstock electrical estimator until 1995. But I probably got the most pleasure at the Cliff Street heating plant, as that was my first job as a foreman. We completely rewired the plant, the four main boilers, which were servicing all the main government buildings on Welling Street from east, center, and west blocks, right up to the Chatelaurie and the Arts Center. We also had to telemeter all these buildings for steam and chilled water. And it was a challenge in this job, as we couldn't shut the plant down except for scheduled shutdowns for a very short time on changeovers. We did have one weekend shutdown in order to rebuild the hydro vault. But I was a foreman at the Bank of Canada, Twin Towers, for 6 years. It took this long as the security in the job was unbelievable. Everything we did had to be scrutinized by the bank security. The security officers were ex-RCMP. For instance, when we had to build a new gold vault around the existing one in the lower level, I didn't do the building of it, but we did the wiring. This is where Canada's gold bars are kept. They didn't want to move the gold bars out during construction, as they said they would lose millions of dollars just in gold dust. So as we worked in the area, we had a guard standing over each worker. And I was there from 1973 to 1979, which was a long time on one job.
What have you learned from being in the union, and what do you like most about Local 586?
Okay, what I learned about being in a union is belonging to a brotherhood. They always had our best interests at heart. Working conditions were always being improved. Applying new safety measures. And the best skilled workers always made sure that the wages were top priority. Local 586 has always had a very high employment rating when I was there. Their membership is well qualified in all aspects of the trade. In fact, when other electrical locals, especially in the States, are looking for cardmen, they came looking at 586, as they knew they could use our members in any electrical situation.
What would you like to say to a new apprentice starting out in the electrical trade at Local 586?
Something I could pass on to the 586 apprentice is that going into the electric trade was a very good choice. That Local 586 is a very vibrant local with a lot of history. Just work hard and safe and take courses to learn more about your trade. Take advantage of all the social activities that your local has to offer, such as golf tournaments, ice fishing, derby, hockey team, Christmas party. Labor Day parade, etc. Just be active. That's what I'd probably will tell them.
That's great. Well, I'd like to thank Kevin Birmingham for speaking with us today. If you know someone that would like to share their story here at Retirees Minute, please have them contact the Hall. We'd love to have their story shared with us. Thanks for listening.